Welcome back then guys to this live stream. It is now time for the main event, which is the 53 lap Italian Grand Prix for the top class. And if you didn't see what happened in qualifying yesterday, very interesting, but with the top four only separated by a tenth, so it was quite interesting. But in the end, the Etihad managed to lock out the front row, with Lewis Hamilton yet again taking pole, with Fernando Alonso second, and Daniel Ricciardo continuing on his good progress by locking out the top three. It's going to be very interesting to see who's going to win this race. We've got 53 laps of action coming away here at Monza, and it should be a very interesting race. So anyway, let's get on with this then, shall we? Without further ado, let's mute this, turn this up a little, and let's have a look at the grid for the Italian Grand Prix. Here we go then. So on pole position is Lewis Hamilton with Fernando Alonso in second. Daniel Ricciardo lines up in third with Sebastian Vettel in fourth. Felipe Massa lines up in fifth with Romain Grosjean in sixth. Jean-Eric Vergne will start in seventh with Nico Hülkenberg in the EMR in eighth. Ninth on the grid is Sergio Pérez, followed by Max Verstappen and the struggling Martini in 10th. 11th on the grid goes to Brendan Hartley, followed by Valtteri Bottas in 12th. 13th on the grid is Esteban Ocon, followed by Antonio Giovinazzi in 14th. 15th on the grid goes to Pascal Wehrlein, that's Stoffel Van Dorn in 16th. 17th on the grid is Charles Leclerc, followed by Carlos Sainz Jr. in 18th. 19th on the grid is Kevin Magnussen, struggling in the Suomi again with Scott Dixon in 20th. And on the back row of the grid it's Ed Jones, and due to his qualifying ban, Kimi Räikkönen is 22nd and last. And that is the grid for the Italian Grand Prix. So there is the grid then guys for the Italian Grand Prix, and the weather being bright and sunny, so leave your predictions. But without further ado, let's get to the Italian Grand Prix. So, here we are then on the grid then. It's Hamilton on the right of your screens, Alonso on the left, who's going to get the lead into turn one as we wait for the 5 red lights to go off. This is the start of the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza, the last European race of the season. 1 light is on, 2 lights are on, 3 lights are on, 4 lights are on, 5 lights are on. And it is go here at Monza, and it's a good start from Alonso. He's got a better start than Hamilton as they go alongside each other down towards the first corner now there, as Vettel tried to make it through as well. He's got the jump on Ricciardo, it seems. Tried to have a look at the Etihad, but wasn't able to make it stick. Can people keep it clean this time by? Oh, contact! Alonso's been punted, as it's Hamilton by Sebastian Vettel. Vettel has punted the 2 Etihads off, as Hülkenberg goes through as well. It looks like we got a traffic jam from last season, but well, that's that really as far as they're concerned. Vettel has punted the 2 Etihads off. It's an EMR 1-2, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's repercussions from Vettel there, as he's gone for a huge dive down the inside. Kind of similar to Giovinazzi, but not in the way Gio did it last year. Let's have a look. As they go into the first corner, Vettel sees a gap, thinks it's there, but already the door is closing. Alonso gets punted, and then Hamilton also gets punted as well, so that will have to be investigated after the race. A little bit of calamity there as the 2 Etihads get punted off at the first chicane. Alonso, yet again for the 2nd season in a row, getting caught out at the first chicane. And well, that's that really. Here's a look from Alonso's perspective as they go into that first chicane. So he seems to initially get the jump on Hamilton, and then next thing he goes, he gets a clap from the side, and then that tips him to the side of Hamilton as well, and then that holds some cars on the left hand side. People on the right are able to get through, but well, at least it's not as big as last year this traffic jam was, where it was all blocked up down at turn 2. But well, yet again Alonso getting involved in into an incident there. Hamilton, whereabouts is he on the track? Well, he's still turned around. Everybody's still trying to get going with each other, and that's that really. But it's allowed a big gap out in front at the moment with Vettel leading, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are repercussions with what he's done there. And, well, that's that really. Vettel in the lead of the race. But as you can see, Bottas all over the backside of Hülkenberg. But not close enough to that point. Remember, Bottas won here last season, and he's looking to try and do it again. Ricciardo was able to get through. Hamilton's got going again. He's in 6th. But what about Alonso? This is crucial in the championship for Alonso as well. As Alonso's Massa's gone off as well. Massa looks like he might have beached it into the gravel coming around that left-hander who was trying to get going. And we could have a retirement already already. No, he's found a gear, but might have got it beached again. No, he's found a gear, and pretty much doing something similar to Razzie a little earlier on in GP2. But he's able to get going again. Vettel leads, but as mentioned, I wouldn't be surprised if there's repercussions with what he's done there. Bottas all over the backside of Hülkenberg at this stage. Well, I've been saying that, Hülkenberg's now putting up a bit of a gap. It looks like Ricciardo might be starting to get a little bit closer. Top 4 with a big gap, and he have to go all the way down, and now they go down the straight now. They're heading up towards the Parabolica. Hamilton already starting to gain time onto Grosjean as he looks to take full advantage of that and try and increase his lead a little bit more in the Drivers' Championship. Vettel sets the fastest lap at this stage, and coming up now then towards the first chicane, and Bottas looking like he's closing back in now onto Hülkenberg as they make their way into the first chicane. Round the right and left-hander we go. As they come off the turn now, they're heading up towards turn number 4 on the track. And around that right-hander we go. And now we're heading towards the second chicane. Hülkenberg going a tad bit defensive. And but Bottas wasn't close enough that time by. As you go through the chicane, there's the special liveried Martini for this weekend. Ocon currently in the top 10. As meantime, nearly a little bit of contact there between Leclerc and Giovinazzi. Luckily, Giovinazzi didn't turn him around there. Alonso making progress. He's up to 20th now then, as he's now on the back of Ed Jones for 19th place. As they make their way round the right-hander, we'll have a look at the fuel loads in a little bit as Alonso tries to hang it around the outside. And as predicted, didn't even need to wait for the corner, and he gets up into 19th place. There's a little bit of a defending just in case Ed Jones tries to do something into that second chicane, but I didn't think he really needed to do that anyway. As now they go through the 2 Lesmos on the track and down the straight towards the Ascari chicane. And now in towards Parabolica. Bottas currently 3rd at this stage now then. As they make their way out of Parabolica now then. Bottas trying to get up towards Hülkenberg if he can. As they make their way down the pit straight. And Bottas not close enough to get him. Vettel setting another fastest lap, and still has a bit of a gap in front of Hülkenberg, but he could face with a little bit of a similar situation to what Ocon faced 2 seasons ago. And well, that's that really. As Vettel now then rounds the right-hander on the track, as he will soon approach the second chicane on the track. And up towards that chicane will go Vettel as he now just goes around those section of corners. Here's Hülkenberg currently 2nd. Bottas starting to lose time a little bit to Hülkenberg. Ricciardo keeping him honest. Let's quickly have a look at the fuel load stand. So 13.7, 9.8, 11.8, 22.8, 20.8, 10.8, 8.9, 20.8, 13.9, 12.9, 9.9, 8.9, 20.8, 13.9, 13.9, 15.0, 9.0, 13.6, 21.9, 11.0, 13.9 and 9.0 then. So it's kind of a split strategy, I think, with the rest of the pack. Some looking to do the 2-stop and some maybe doing the 1-stop. Looks like Ricciardo's going to try and do the 1-stop, whereas the top 3 are looking like the 2-stop. As now Hamilton's down the inside of Grosjean. Can he get 5th from the Frenchman? And yes, he can. Up to 5th place goes Lewis Hamilton. He gets the move done. And now can he try and chase down the top 4 in front now then and gain the time he lost after the collision at the start of the race, as Vettel starts lap 4:53 then in this Grand Prix as they make their way down the straight towards the first chicane on the track. And Hülkenberg now then continuing to lose time a bit now to Vettel, as Bottas might be starting to come under threat from Ricciardo in a little bit. But having saying that, of course, Ricciardo on a very heavy fuel load compared to these guys, so he's looking to try and do the 1-stop, and who knows really, maybe get a 2nd consecutive victory this season, who knows. But I mean, it seems that, according to rumours, of course, looks like Gio and Martini have a little bit of tension going on, considering with Ocon, it must be said. What it would be, I have no idea, but yeah, that's that really. I think there might be some relation in terms of money, but I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest with you. As Hamilton now released from Grosjean, he's starting to get away from him. Now sets his sights on the top 4 in front of him at the moment. As meantime, Verstappen's in 9th. Ocon doing some defending as unseen by the cameras. Werner's lost a few places and he's down to 11th places. Out goes Scott Dixon. Scott Dixon is out of the race. What has happened to the Mars Grand Prix driver? And whereabouts is he on the track? And no, I haven't. He's where is he on the track? And there, he split it. We've got a big crash. Giovinazzi and Dixon have hit each other. Dixon and Giovinazzi have hit each other. Dixon has rolled in the same place where Sainz rolled last season in GP2. Giovinazzi again making contact at the first chicane. Let's see what on earth happened there. So Giovinazzi in the slipstream of Dixon goes for the gap on the inside, and he's already in front, and it just seemed that Dixon wasn't expecting him on the inside there. It will be investigated, of course, but I don't know really, it looks like on this occasion it might not be Gio's fault because he was already ahead into the corner. But yeah, that's that. Let's look at it from this perspective then. Quite a lucky perspective, you must be said, after the rollover. So there's Giovinazzi, he's down the inside, and then Dixon sees him, but then he just decides to turn in again, and as a result it puts Giovinazzi into a spin, and all four wheels, game physics, starting to still spin a little bit, but anyway, Scott Dixon, luckily, he should be okay. It's only one little flip, but he's okay from that. But either way, we're now down to 21 runners in this race. Alonso is now got ahead of Leclerc. We did see him fighting until we saw that crash, and he had got ahead of Leclerc, so he's now up into 16th place. Alonso, along with Hamilton, making progress through the field, as now Sainz will try and get hold of Massa for 18th place. As Giovinazzi, in fact, might have got it lodged into maybe like a little hole on the grass, perhaps. Maybe there's like a section on the grass which hasn't been filled, and he's been beached. Antonio Giovinazzi is out of the race. There he goes, a lap down anyway, and we're down to 20 runners. So both cars involved in that accident retiring at the chicane. So now we're down to 20 runners in this Italian Grand Prix. There are the yellow flags. Meantime, Van Dorn, who's up in 7th now then, is starting to gain onto Grosjean for 6th place. Perez now trying to have a go at Verstappen for 8th. As they go down the straight now, then will Perez get the move done? That's yellow flags, Perez. I wouldn't do that if I were you. There's still yellows on the track. There's already 2 people under investigation in GP2, and he's passed on the yellows, so that will have to be investigated as a result. Perez passing on the yellow flags, and well, that's that really as far as they are concerned. And that's that really, as meantime, Ricciardo obviously not gaining onto much on Bottas. Let's not forget he's running quite a heavy fuel load. As I'll be interested to see what the gap is like between Ricciardo and Hamilton, and seeing if Hamilton is gaining quite significantly. I wouldn't be surprised if he is, but that's that really. But Perez passing on the yards, that's the 3rd investigation in this race. I'm going to probably be busy tonight because there's 6. I've got to investigate in GP2 and 1 in GP3, so that's a total of 10. So another busy night in the office, it must be said, for the stewards. Meantime, Ocon trying to get back at Verne if he can. Look like Verne got him into the 2nd chicane, as now Ocon in the slipstream. He's got to look to the inside, trying to retake the pace if he can. He's also got Verline also right behind him as well. Up towards Escabi we go. Can Ocon get the move done? And yes, he can. Up into 10th place he goes. He passes Verne, and now Verline trying to find a way through on Jonathan Verne if he can. Meantime, Alonso starting to gain onto Hartley and Magnussen, so 2 places he's trying to catch up to. As now coming up towards the final corner, Verstappen wants that 8th place back off Perez as they make their way around Parabolica. Van Dorn getting close to Grosjean. In fact, I was going to check what the gap was like between Hamilton and Ricciardo. It's 7.9 seconds between the 2 future teammates in IFMC. So we'll see if Hamilton is gaining that gap a little bit. Hamilton on a lighter fuel though compared to Ricciardo, so that could be a little bit of an influence. He's on 8.3, whereas Ricciardo I think is around about on 19 litres, I would say. No, 20.2, I do apologise. Well, it was close enough. In towards the Lesmos then, Ricciardo just possibly trying to see if he could try and make this one-stop work out. Here's Vettel, obviously under investigation for causing that start incident. And so that's that really, as they make their way into Ascari. As Vettel now then just comes out of the turn, heading down the straight before approaching Parabolica. And Vettel trying everything he can to do the business in the EMR, but of course the investigation's still looming over his head. And meantime, there's Hamilton. You can just see him in the distance. Look, he is gaining significantly. He's not that far now from the rest of the pack. He's still got a chance perhaps of taking victory today. So even with a little bit of a knock from Hamilton, you have to say that he's definitely carrying that car forward as he now comes around the Parabolica. As meantime, Van Dorn still stuck behind Grosjean as they continue to fight for 6th place in this race as they make their way down the pit straight towards the first chicane on the track. Van Dorn in the slipstream of Grosjean. Can he try and find a way through on Roman now then as they make their way into the right and left hand? In the meantime, Verstappen back on the prowl of Perez. Can he find a way through on Perez? Perez, of course, under investigation for passing on the yellow flags as they make their way now then into the first chicane. Will Verstappen make the move, stick on Perez again down the inside into the first chicane, but Perez able to hang in around the outside and hold on to 8th place. Vern catches up a slight bit as unseen by the cameras. He's retaken Ocon for 10th, so he gets back up to 10th. Ocon under threat from Verline as the pair of them look to fight for 11th place as they make their way round the right hander now then. Sparks coming off the back of Verline's car now then as he pushes hard. Meantime, the two Suomis have gained quite a lot due to the carnage. They're up to 13th and 14th. Magnussen only qualified 19th, let's not forget, and Räikkönen obviously had his qualifying ban, so the pair of them having to make it up the field if they can. As here's Alonso trying to close up onto Hartley in front. Meantime, Hamilton trying everything to get hold of Ricciardo, and we'll have a look and see next time what the gap is like. Last time we checked, which was 2 laps ago, it was 7.2 seconds. So let's see if he was being able to get up a little bit. As unseen by the cameras, look, Van Dorn's up to 6th. He's past Grosjean, so into 6th place. Goes Stoffel Van Dorn. He gets the move done as Verstappen still stuck behind Perez at this stage. Let's have a look at the gap between Hamilton and Ricciardo at this point, as Vettel's now on lap 8 to 53 in this Grand Prix as they make their way down towards the first chicane on the track. And Hamilton now then trying to see if he can pull the move off on Grosjean. Sorry, to try and close it to Ricciardo. And the gap now between the pair of them is 6.1 seconds. So from the last time we checked, Hamilton has gained 1.1 seconds on Ricciardo within the last 2 laps. So that's equivalent of around about 1.5 seconds he's cut out of him each lap. Sorry, 0.5 seconds he's cut on him each lap, if that even existed. So he's probably gained 0.5 on one lap and then gained 0.6 on another lap. So there we are, Hamilton gaining significantly then on Daniel Ricciardo. As the meantime, Vern's gone off and up into 8th goes Max Verstappen because unseen by the cameras he's passed Perez. In fact, what has happened to Perez? Has Perez possibly been punted off by Verstappen? Well, it looks like we're a little bit too late from that. And as a result, Perez is down to 12th. It could be 13th actually, because down the inside goes Magnussen, and he might have overshot the corner in fact, and yet we're unable to see what on earth happened as Veren tries to find a way through on Verstappen there, but he misjudges the braking, and as a result just goes straight on into the gravel there. As meantime, has Magnussen overshot? He has overshot, but he's managed to keep it on the track, and well, that's that really. At least he was ahead of Perez into the corner there. Alonso now right in this train as he's stuck behind Hartley and has got Leclerc behind for company as well. Into the Lesmos ago. A train of cars starting to form behind Magnussen as a result. Round Parabolica we go, and I would expect the first round of pit stops, for anybody wondering, to come around about, I'd say around about lap 16 to 24. We'll probably see them kick off. And probably a few laps after that, we'll see the one-stoppers make their stop along with the two-stoppers probably a little bit after that. What's the gap now then between Hamilton and Ricciardo as they make their way into the first chicane? Let's see now then, in towards turns 1 and 2 we will go on the track. Round the right and left-hander we go as they come off the turn. Let's see, the gap now 5.3 seconds between the pair of them. So Hamilton has gained 8 tenths that time around, so a little bit more than what he has done before. Meantime now then, Verline now then getting on to Vern now then for 9th place. Meantime, how's Alonso done? Alonso's still in 16th, still stuck behind his train of cars. Alonso now then looking to the inside of Hartley. Can he get the car stopped in time? And had to jam on the brakes there because he didn't want the cream cracker into the back of Räikkönen. And as a result, Hartley took full advantage of that and managed to cream cracker past him back up into 15th place. But Alonso won't give that up that easily as they now approach the second chicane on the track now then. And there you go, Alonso on the inside of Hartley. Hartley trying to shut the door on him there. And Hartley defends the inside into that chicane. Doesn't allow Alonso to get through that time around, as Hartley had a bad entrance into that corner because he was doing the defending. And it's obviously backed up Alonso and Leclerc into that chicane. As they now go through the two Lesmos on the track now then, as they use the curb on the outside in towards the second Lesmo. Alonso to the inside of Hartley. Isn't able to pull the move off now then. And that was that really. And that was that. Meantime, Verline back on the prowl of Vern, looking to try and grab 9th place from him if he can as they make their way out of Ascari. And let's see the gap between Ricciardo and Hamilton this time around. Last time around it was, I think, 5.3 seconds. So let's see the gap this time by as he makes his way into the chicane. Van Dorn's into the pits, and it's a scheduled stop for Van Dorn, so a very late stop. The gap down to 4.4 seconds now between Hamilton and Ricciardo. So Hamilton took 9 tenths out of him that time around. He's absolutely flying out on the track. Van Dorn pits for his scheduled stop. A very early stop, it must be said. A very early first stop for Stoffel Van Dorn. But let's see where he's going to rejoin after the stop. It's a 12.6 second stop for Stoffel, as also in is Charles Leclerc. Leclerc into the pits himself, as is Massa. So 3 guys into the pits this time by. Where's Van Dorn going to rejoin? As he will soon flick off the pit limiter. And he does not. He rejoins in 17th position. That's where he rejoins at that point, as here comes Massa and Leclerc finishing off their stops. Massa still in front of well, actually he's jumped Leclerc, I think I should say, in the pit, so Massa gains a place. They'll rejoin at the back of the pack in 19th and 20th, and they could even be a lap down at this stage. As in the background, looking to the pits, comes Nico Hülkenberg in the EMR. So Hülkenberg in, as the EMR mechanics get set for his car. Bottas goes through into second. Ricciardo should get up into third, and as he'll soon put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel as he wipes the visor clean and putting in the fuel. And let's see where Hülkenberg can rejoin in after the stop. It is an 11.4 second stop for Hülkenberg as he goes trundling down pit lane. And where is he going to rejoin now then? As he makes his way down pit lane. And Hülkenberg is going to rejoin. Verne now into the pits for GRM. And Hülkenberg rejoins in 7th place, just in front of Ocon, or I should say that Ocon goes around him to take 7th there, not wasting any time being behind somebody coming out of the pits there. As meantime, Alonso's in 11th, so he's gained some places, and in fact Hamilton's going to be pitting at the end of this lap then. So that's that really. Hartley fending off from Räikkönen as Verline and Verne make their stops. Verne's still out in front of Verline. Pascal unable to get the jump on the Frenchman in the pits, so that's how it's going to stay, as they'll soon flick off the pit limiter. And as they flick off the pit limiter now, then let's see where Verline is going to rejoin. He's going to rejoin in 17th place behind Verne. So that's that really. Jones comes out of the pit lane as well, as Vettel puts a lap on Leclerc. And we were talking about Hamilton, because Hamilton is pitting at the end of this lap for his scheduled stop as he makes his way around Parabolica. And he'll soon pull into his box. He'll pull to the right, which he does. Into the pits then comes Lewis Hamilton from 4th place temporarily as he tries to gain onto Ricciardo. And he has been still gaining on him just before he made this pit stop. Let's see how quick the Etihad mechanics can get to work on his car. They only have 17.9 litres in Hamilton's car, so fueling him quite lightly, it must be said. So they're clearly going for quite a short second stint. It's an 11.3 second stop for Hamilton. Let's see where he's going to come out then in this race. And he goes trundling down pit lane as he'll soon flick off the pit limiter. And let's see where he's going to rejoin now then. And he flicks off the pit limiter and he's going to rejoin in 13th position. That's where he will rejoin. And Hamilton rejoins in 13th place as a result, as he makes his way into the first chicane. And that's that really as far as they're concerned. And here's Vettel. He will be pitting in probably about a couple of laps. Bottas in second, but he's going to be making a stop this time by. And let's not forget, of course, Ricciardo will be staying out a long time anyway, so it's not like Hamilton will try and get the jump on him anyway in the pits, because Ricciardo looks like he's going to be doing the one stop. Ed Jones into the pits for Mars Grand Prix, as Bottas will go into pit lane as he flicks to the right. Into the pits then comes the Dorado, and let's see what he's going to be joining after this stop, as he will put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. And let's see now then as he fills up. Let's see where he will rejoin as they wipe the visor clean on that car. And that's that then really. Where's he going to rejoin then? As it's an 11.1 second stop from Eldorado. As that looks like Mars Grand Prix mechanics again. I think they're only just, I think that's just them because they've just served Jones. So where's Bottas going to rejoin? Where's Hamilton on the track? That's the question. Hamilton is, where is he? Hamilton is, well, he's nowhere near, it must be said. So Bottas rejoins in 6th position, just behind Hülkenberg. So he's gained quite a bit of time in the pits. Hamilton is, where is he? He's 13th at the moment, so he's got a bit of traffic to contend with, so that's not going to help him. Alonso, meantime, down the inside of Perez, and he gets the move. Alonso up into 9th place in the Etihad there then. And Alonso now then has just got by on Perez. So that's that really, as they come out of Parabolica. And meantime, Leclerc currently 19th at this stage. So Massa 18th at the moment. And they obviously made a pit stop a little earlier. Vettel not scheduled to make a pit stop, possibly next lap. Let's see if Vettel's got to make a stop. As he starts lap 14 of 53, and he will do. So Vettel will be pitting at the end of this lap for a scheduled stop. Ricciardo will be staying out for a while, of course, because he's looking to do the one stop, so he will take the lead once Vettel comes in. So Ricciardo looking to try and make this one work out if he can. Meantime, Ocon will be pitting this lap. He's currently behind Verstappen on the road. So there's Hülkenberg, and he's looking to regain the places. He'll gain back after everybody pits. Bottas not far behind either. He's got Magnussen behind. Alonso still making progress through the field. I think he'll probably pit next lap anyway in the Etihad as they make their way through Parabolica. As I try and get comfy on my seat there. Out of Parabolica now then as they head down the pit straight towards the first chicane. And as you can see, Ocon now then in the pits for Martini. So Esteban Ocon in for a scheduled stop. And let's see how quick the stop's going to be then for the Martini driver as he puts on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. A wipe of the visor for him there then. And let's see what he's going to rejoin. And he's going to rejoin, and it's a 10.6 second stop. And Ocon is going to rejoin, it looks like 15th because Vern's a little bit far behind. He's only just coming around Parabolica. And so Ocon now then might actually come out behind Vern actually. And now that I think of it, as he comes out of pit lane, he rejoins 15th. Looks like he's going to be 16th now. Yeah, he comes out just behind Vern and ahead of Verline as Vettel now comes in for a scheduled stop. It will gift the lead to Daniel Ricciardo, who's going to be out there for a while because, as mentioned, he's going to try and see if he can make his one-stop work out in this race as the EMR mechanics get to work on Vettel's cars. They put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. And let's see where Sebastian Vettel will rejoin. Ricciardo goes through into the lead. It's a 9.3 second stop for Vettel, confirming he is on a 2-stop. And where is the German going to rejoin then? As he goes trundling down pit lane. And Grosjean coming down pit straight. He's also on the 1-stop as well. So Grosjean might come out in front of him now. Then Vettel then rejoined in 2nd place. Grosjean had to give him some space there, but Grosjean having none of it. He's going to dive it down the inside into the first chicane, and he gets 2nd from Vettel. Grosjean also, like Ricciardo, trying to do the 1-stop in this race. As Perez is also on a 1-stop. Verstappen in for a scheduled stop. Looks like one of the shadows is coming in a little bit as one of the monsters is in. That would be Brendan Hartley as Alonso is into the pits for a scheduled stop. He finishes off the pit stop. And gets out in front of Magnussen, gets out in front of Hartley, and of course gets out in front of I believe that's Sainz. I think, yes, it is Sainz. And where is he going to rejoin? And Alonso trundles down pit lane. A few cars are going by him down the pit straight, and he's going to rejoin in 14th position in front of obviously Magnussen and Hartley. As Hartley comes out just in front of teammate Massa, but Massa could try and get him down into the first chicane. No, he's too far back, so Hartley still in front of Massa, his teammate, after the pit stop. So it does leave Ricciardo lead in the race, but here's Vettel now in on the 2-stop, trying to get back at Grosjean. He's going to look to the outside if he can. Vettel trying to make the 2-stop work, despite the fact the investigation's looming over him, as they go side by side down to the last corner at Parabolica, and he didn't even need to wait for the corner. Vettel up to 2nd place, not wasting any time whatsoever in the EMR. As now he'll try and chase down Ricciardo if he can. He's just gone out of the first chicane. Meantime now then, where is Hamilton? There's Hamilton as he's trying to find a way through on the 1-stop in Räikkönen. As he tries to get hold of him now to the 7th place. Up towards the final turn he goes. Hamilton now then comes out of Parabolica as they'll soon head down the pit straight now then towards the first chicane. And heading down the pit straight now then we go. And in towards the first chicane we go. And let's see then what Hamilton can do as he tries to find a way through on Kimi Räikkönen now then for P7. And in towards that first chicane we go. And Hamilton wasn't close enough to get Räikkönen that time by, but he will try and see if he can get a run in round the right-hander as Hamilton tries to make his way up through the field. Same with Alonso. Where is Alonso at the moment? Obviously rejoining 14th and now trying to chase down former teammate Wehrlein. Verstappen currently 10th at this stage as he tries to chase down Van Dorn for 9th. So just a little bit of chasing for him to do. Meantime, Vettel trying to pull a bit of a gap. Look, he's not really pulled away too much from Grosjean as much as he would have anticipated, but there we are then, really, as Grosjean looking to also make his one-stop walk. Ricciardo now then has started lap 17 of 53. He'll probably pit in around about 7 laps time, which will take him on to lap number 24 of the race, and I think it could be a one-stop for Ricciardo, but we'll wait and see. He'll obviously fuel quite heavy towards the end of the Grand Prix as he now makes his way around the right-hander, and he'll soon approach the second chicane on the track now then. And now up towards the second chicane we go, as he'll soon approach the two Lesmos out in. Ricciardo doing everything in his power to ensure he can make this strategy work out in the end now. Then it's me time now. Hamilton on the inside of Räikkönen. Can Hamilton get the move done on Kimi Räikkönen into the first chicane? Down the inside he goes. Räikkönen trying to stick with him. Hamilton on the inside and he gets it. Hamilton up into 7th place. Gets the move done on Kimi. And that's P7 for the championship leader. Next target for him is Sergio Pérez in the Eldorado. Of course, under investigation for passing under yellow flags. As now Hamilton will try and get hold of Pérez if he can in this race now then. As we go up towards the second chicane round the left and right-hander he goes, as he now starts to get away from Kimi Räikkönen, as they'll soon approach the two Lesmos on the track. And now Hamilton trying to get away from Räikkönen as a result. Into the second Lesmo we go. And he's soon but surely trying to chase down Pérez at this stage. Sorry about that. As meantime now then, Pérez currently 6th. Hamilton trying to chase him down at the moment. Looks like Bottas might be starting to chase down Hülkenberg again. So it looks like those two could rekindle a fight perhaps in this race, but we'll wait and see if Bottas is able to keep up this pace. Remember, Bottas got his first victory here last season, but whether he'll be able to do so this season or not remains to be seen. He also took advantage of a pile-up that happened here last season, which was caused by Antonio Giovinazzi. But as mentioned, we'll wait and see. I mean, Hülkenberg is coming up to traffic, so it could help Bottas just a tad bit, try and get up close to him in the race as they make their way out of the first chicane. Now on the track is Ricciardo, currently leading the race, as they'll soon start lap 19 of 53. And in around about 7 laps, I think, or no, in fact, sorry, 6 laps. Yeah, 6 laps. We'll be seeing Ricciardo making his one and only stop as he tries everything he can to ensure Vettel doesn't make his strategy work. He does have the advantage of that if that Vettel is under investigation for the first chicane, but at the end of the day, it all depends really if he's going to be the one finishing behind him, of course, because if Vettel gets penalised, of course, there could be an opportunity that the other EMR could win the race in the form of Nico Hülkenberg. But it all depends really if Ricciardo can try and pull off the one-stop really, and try and get his second consecutive victory in 2 weekends, back-to-back victories in Italy. So GOM would have got very lucky victories, it must be said. They've pretty much been, in terms of victories so far, GOM have been getting it via luck, it must be said. Nothing to degrade them, that's how they've been getting them so far. Germany, of course, back in Season 2 where they got the first one, that was a lot with a lot of guys retiring in front. Then, of course, in Motegi, again, similar thing happened there. And then, of course, and then recently at San Marino, it was because Verstappen blew up, meaning that he was gifted the lead as a result. And, of course, you could combine that with the conditions that were there at Imola during qualifying, which mixed up the grid. So, yeah, it seems so far in his career, Ricciardo's been getting victories via luck. And but there we are really. Sometimes you need luck on your side to achieve things, and so far Ricciardo's been quite lucky in that department, it must be said. Meantime, looks like Grosjean's probably got a little bit less than Ricciardo in the tank. He'll probably pit in around about 3 laps time. As meantime, Hamilton still continuing to get away from Räikkönen. That said somebody's name set the fastest lap. I couldn't see who that was. Alonso currently 13th on team better cameras. He's got by on his former teammate Pascal Wehrlein, so he gets 13th as he now chases down Ocon, an old foe of his for 12th place, and 2 seasons ago they came to blows right at this chicane. In fact, the chicane back into season 2 was a little bit different to how it is now. It's a little bit more tighter than what it was nowadays, of course, and a bit quicker. But nowadays it's a little bit easy to avoid a mistake, to avoid contact into that chicane, since we came to this layout last season. As Alonso comes out of the second Lesmo as he tries to chase down Ocon for 12th place now then, as he continues to try and make progress through the field. And let's see what the gap is like between Hamilton and Perez while we look in the cockpit of Lewis Hamilton, as we have 34 laps remaining in this Italian Grand Prix. We're pretty much a few laps away now then from the one-stoppers making their stop up towards the first chicane. The gap between Perez and Hamilton is now, let's have a look, the chicane, and it is 2.6 seconds. So that's how that looks at this stage. 2.6 is the gap between Perez and Hamilton at the moment in this race, as it doesn't help the fact when Perez has actually come up to traffic in the form of Ed Jones's Mars Grand Prix car. And so that's that really. In terms of some news that Etihad brought out during the week, of course, it has been confirmed now that Alonso will be driving for E-Power in IFMC IndyCar. Not really a surprise to most of the paddock. And of course, the other news being that their third test driver, after buying him out for a decent fee, their third test drive for next season will be Joseph Newgarden. If I can just spit the words out, Joseph Newgarden will become a test driver for the team. He joins Pierre Gasly and Charles Leclerc next season in terms of test drivers. Leclerc and Gasly being loaned out to teams next season. Leclerc moving to Dorado next season, and Gasly moving up to the top class with Shadow Mercedes, taking Leclerc's space. But of course, Etihad did give out a little bit of an indication that depending on how well Newgarden does in GP3, and that all depends really, I think, if he can win the championship in 3 weeks' time in Abu Dhabi. If he does well, there is a chance that that Etihad could loan him out to a team himself next season. So we could see Newgarden back in the top class next season. My guess is that he'd probably be loaned out to Mars Grand Prix again, but we will wait and see on that. If that does become true. Maybe even Suomi as well, because of course they've got Magnussen under threat for his performances, and maybe Suomi could do a deal with Etihad if that's the case, of trying to get Newgarden in the car. And so yeah, interesting stuff, it must be said. Maybe even Bud Light Lime could even fancy a bit of Newgarden as well next season to try and partner alongside Perez if Grosjean doesn't perform. But at this stage, I think it's looking more likely that Grosjean will take that seat next season anyway. So I think probably the Bud Light Lime Motorsports seat for Joseph Newgarden is probably out of the question. So who knows really? Who knows what Etihad have got planned for Newgarden next season? Of course, he obviously can't compete in GP2 because he's done a season in the top class, so he can't do that, and he's not at the age to make a comeback to GP2. He needs to be under 20 to do that, like Mick Schumacher was, and not do at least a season of IFMC, of course. So obviously the top class is out of the question for Joseph Newgarden. Sorry, the GP2 class. So pretty much either another, well, he can't do GP3 if he wins the championship, so the only option really is the top class. But we know Etihad, they're very good with their young drivers. This is Grosjean's in for his one and only stop. And there you go, then it is confirmation. He's got 34.9 litres, so it is confirmation that Ricciardo is doing the similar strategy. Grosjean in, as is, I think that's Sergio Pérez, who's also done the one stop. So Hamilton will lift up a couple of places to go up to 5th, back in the place that he was originally. And let's see how quick the stop's going to be. It's obviously going to be a long one because if it's a one stop. But Grosjean having to wait for Räikkönen to come in. Räikkönen also doing the one stop in this row. He has to really, considering he had the quali ban. So he's trying to do something to try and get some points today here at Monza. And let's see where Grosjean is going to come now then after this pit stop, as he'll soon flick off the pit limiter. And so he flicks off the pit limiter, and Grosjean is going to rejoin in. Well, it could be 10th, but might be 11th, as he rejoins right in front of Alonso. But Alonso doing a similar thing to what Grosjean did earlier to Vettel, and Alonso gets 10th from Grosjean, so it's P11 for Romain Grosjean. He's now in front of Pascal Wehrlein's AMP, and they make their way through the right-hander now then. As Magnussen's not far behind this battle, nor is Hartley and Massa, so a few cars not far behind this. Perez rejoined in 17th after his one and only stop, so that's where he came out. As Ricciardo is now a lap ahead of Räikkönen, who's rejoined in 19th position. As Ricciardo is pitting at the end of this lap, it does look like that Vettel will take the lead again, but where will Ricciardo languish after this stop, of course? As of course we need to remember, of course, that Vettel has to do a 2-stop in this race. So if Ricciardo comes out in second with a bit of a decent gap between himself and Vettel, then it might look good for Ricciardo to get a victory today. And looking at it, in a few laps' time anyway, Vettel will have to make another stop. So Ricciardo could actually have a chance at victory here today. So it does well for him, considering he'll be joining Etihad next season. So probably would put a smile on the face of Oliver Glazebrook, considering one of his drivers has already proved himself really as being a proven race winner in IFMC. But now they can hope that they can try and get a championship out of Ricciardo if they can. But whether the V12 regulations next season will change that, it remains to be seen. But anyway, as you can see, Ricciardo now heading down the straight as he'll soon approach the Parabolica now then. And he'll be heading into the pits this time by. Around the Parabolica goes the Aussie. And he'll soon flick to the right of the pits now then. Which he will. So into the pits then comes Daniel Ricciardo from the lead of the race. And Vettel will take the lead again, as he's now up towards Parabolica himself. So let's see then as Ricciardo makes his stop. And he'll put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. A wipe of the visor there then for the Aussie. As through goes Vettel to retake the lead. And where is Ricciardo going to rejoin then? How long's the stop going to be there? It'll obviously be a little bit of a while because it is a one stop he is doing. And it is a 16.8 second stop. Hülkenberg might go through it ahead of him. Maybe Bottas, but we'll wait and see. Heading down the straight, through goes Hülkenberg, and I believe Bottas might as well. Where's Hamilton on the track? Hamilton's coming down the straight, so I think Hamilton will also be in front of Ricciardo. So through goes Hamilton into 4th as he tries to chase down Bottas for the final podium place. So Ricciardo rejoins in 5th place, so that's where he rejoins. Vettel is going through Lesmo 1 now then, and who knows really where Ricciardo will languish, because these guys have still got to make another start. Ricciardo now is fueled to the end of the race. So he can just try and get his foot down and try and make this strategy work out. He's on fresher tyres, so he'll try and make it work if he can, as the sparks continue to fly out the back of Ricciardo's GRM, as he will now approach the second chicane on the track. Gets a little bit of understeer into the beginning of that corner, but manages to catch it. He missed the curb there, surprisingly enough, so a bit of understeer from Ricciardo, probably pushing a bit too hard, but he was able to correct it as he now goes through the second Lesmo, as he tries to chase down the rest of the pack that's in front of him at the moment. Hamilton getting close to the back of Bottas now then, so Hamilton trying everything he can to overhaul Bottas for a podium at least. Round Escavi we go as he head down the straight. And at the moment, and as you can see, Vettel is pitting at the end of lap 25 then. So Vettel is pitting for his second stop, this time by, as he now rounds the first chicane on the track. And Vettel will be pitting at the end of this lap for a scheduled stop. As meantime now then, Hamilton trying to chase down Bottas if he can for 3rd place. What's the gap between him and the Finn anyway, as they make their way down the pit straight now then, as Vettel's on lap 25 of 53. So we now have specifically 29 laps to go in this Italian Grand Prix. 3 seconds exactly is the gap between Bottas and Hamilton. 5.2 the gap between Hamilton and the one stopping Ricciardo as he makes his way around that first chicane, trying to chase after these guys as best as possible, as he will soon round the right-hander, and around he goes. And Ricciardo trying to do the business to try and get victory here today. Up towards the second chicane he'll go, and again taking a wider line into that corner, probably because of the heavy fuel he's got in his car, but is able to what's the word I'm looking for? He's able to control it, that's for sure. That's the only word I could possibly think of in that sentence. But meantime, Vettel will pull to the right, and into the pits comes race leader Sebastian Vettel. Let's see how quick the stop's going to be then for Seb. As he will put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel. Hülkenberg will take the lead temporarily. And let's see now then, as he will possibly be fueled to the end of the race. Yes, he is. A fresh set of tyres and fuel goes in Sebastian's car. And let's see then, where's Ricciardo on the track at this stage? And there's some traffic in the background. You just saw a glimpse there in the background of his mirror. Through goes Hülkenberg, through goes Bottas, and through will go Hamilton as well. And where's Ricciardo? I think Ricciardo might actually go through as well. And there's Ricciardo coming down the pit straight. It's going to be close between Vettel and Ricciardo, but I think Ricciardo has just done it. Yes, he has. Ricciardo is in front of Vettel and might be in a good place to win this race. Vettel is going to rejoin. Where's he going to rejoin? He rejoins in 5th position, just in front of Stoffel Vandoorne. So that's where he rejoins. Verstappen into his box then. So Verstappen making a pit stop. And let's see where the Martini is going to come out after this stop now then. There's a wipe of the visor for Max Verstappen. As let's see what will happen now then, as he puts on a fresh set of tyres and fuel, of course. And it is a 16.2 second stop for Verstappen, as it looks like the shadow mechanics are getting ready for somebody. That is Carlos Sainz Jr., who's coming into the box himself. So he's making a pit stop. Massa's in, as also is Alonso. He's made his final stop. So he still tries to make a fight back through the field. Doesn't really gain too much. Hülkenberg pitting at the end of this lap now then. Here's Ricciardo, the one-stopping Ricciardo, as he looks to try and make this one-stop work out. Hamilton gaining, but not still within slipstream range of Bottas. Hülkenberg will be coming in. Is Bottas as well. Hamilton's coming in as well on this lap. Bottas, is he coming in? And no, he's not. Bottas is going to stay out for an extra lap to take the lead. So Hülkenberg in, as is Lewis Hamilton. A battle between the EMR and Etihad mechanics then to get their man out in front. As it's going to be very interesting to see who's going to get out in front first between Hülkenberg and Hamilton. Then again, I think Hülkenberg will still be out in front. But let's see now then, as they make the stop. As another car comes into pit lane, and Hülkenberg having to wait for that car. And Hamilton also had to wait as well, so he doesn't gain anything onto Hülkenberg. So Hülkenberg, looking in that regard of that traffic, didn't hold him up, so Hülkenberg's still out in front of Hamilton. But that might help Bottas a little bit as well. Try and get onto Hülkenberg and stay out in front of... trying to stay out in front of... and trying to stay in front of Bottas, who's still out on the track at the moment. Van Dorn still sticking with Vettel, so Vettel clearly struggling on this stint. As Van Dorn, who's still here to make a stop, is all over the back of him at the moment. Meantime, where's Bottas on the track, the current race leader? The temporary race leader, I should say. Here he is, and he is pitting at the end of this lap. And it looks like, because Ricciardo's not that far there, Ricciardo will be taking the lead of the Grand Prix as Bottas now then approaches the Parabolica. And let's see. And it'll be interesting to see how much time he'll gain as a result of Hülkenberg and Hamilton being held up in the pits by, look at Mars Grand Prix car that came in, I think Jones. Bottas now then in. There is the Dorado mechanics, as they will put on a fresh set of tyres and fuel for Valtteri Bottas. And let's see where the Finn is going to rejoin. And the wipe of the visor there for Bottas. As the seconds tick down in the pit lane, somebody else comes in. I can't quite see who that is. In fact, no, that's just my eyes deceiving me. Well, now there is. That looks like an AMP that's coming to the pits. And he's having to wait for that AMP. So Hülkenberg and Hamilton getting a little bit of redemption. That was Van Dorn coming in. And he was attacking Vettel a little earlier. And Vettel is 8.7 seconds back from Ricciardo at the moment. And where is Bottas going to rejoin? And where is Hülkenberg on the track? Hülkenberg's only coming down the pit straight now then. Bottas might actually do enough to leapfrog Hülkenberg, and he has. Bottas has leapfrogged Hülkenberg in the pit. Ricciardo goes through into the lead, of course, and now finds himself leading the Grand Prix. As so Ricciardo now then leading the Italian Grand Prix. Ocon in for a scheduled stop. Hülkenberg trying to get back at him, but now Hamilton trying to attack Hülkenberg for 4th place. As Ocon finishes his start, through goes teammate Verstappen on track. Where's Ocon going to rejoin? And Ocon rejoins in 12th place, just behind Jean-Éric Vergne on the track. There's Alonso, 13th. As now we look at Brendan Hartley. And let's see where he will rejoin now then. As he finishes off his pit stop, and he rejoins just in front of Magnussen. But having saying that, Magnussen dives it down the inside of the first chicane and grabs 14th from the Kiwi. So it's 15th now for Brendan Hartley in front of Verline and Massa. Leclerc rejoins 19th and nearly a lap down from race leader Daniel Ricciardo. And there's Vettel in the background. Look, he's not that far away from Danny Rick at the moment, as they make their way around the first chicane on the track. Meantime now then, as here is the battle for 3rd place. You can look in the background. Look, Grosjean's not that far away from this battle as well. So it could become a 4-way scrap for 3rd at this stage as they make their way around Parabolica. Out of the turn we go before approaching the pit straight. As we go down this pit straight now then towards the first chicane on the track. As what's the gap between Hamilton and Hülkenberg this time by? It looks like it's under a second, but we will wait and see. As Bottas starts to look like he's got a bit of a gap in front of Hülkenberg. But having saying that, of course, I don't know if that's because he had a bigger gap. I'm not sure, but it's half a second between Hülkenberg and Hamilton. Hamilton definitely lapping quicker than Hülkenberg at this stage as they go around the right-hander now then. And pretty much now, let's not forget, of course, Etihad have already run the Constructors' Championship, so EMR not really an issue for them anymore. And the pair of them, both Alonso and Hamilton, just pretty much fighting themselves out now then for the Drivers' Championship. And at this stage, if it stays like this, Hamilton will increase his lead to 17 points in the Drivers' Championship, with Alonso currently outside the points. Alonso currently in 13th place and struggling to really make some progress through the field. So now we look at Danny Rick, who's currently leading the way at this stage as he makes his way down pit straight. And Ricciardo now then will soon approach the first chicane on the track as he continues to lead the way out in front. How much? By 7.6 seconds. So Vettel is gaining, but not really too much over these last few laps. Vettel only taking little chunks out of Ricciardo's lead at the moment. Meantime, now then, look at Hamilton, very racy behind Hülkenberg now as he looks to try and get fourth from the German as they come out of Parabolica now then, heading down the pit straight. Will Hamilton get the move done on Nico Hülkenberg as they come down pit straight now then? Hamilton on the inside he goes now then, he has a look. Hülkenberg covered him off initially. Hamilton's going to have to get back in the slipstream if he wants to get it, unless he'll get him down on pure straight line speed. Look at the straight line speed. Out goes Carlos Sainz as Hülkenberg covers the inside from Hamilton to ensure he doesn't get through. Sainz is out of the race. What's happened to Carlos Sainz? And there it is. It's a transmission problem for Carlos Sainz. So out of the race goes Carlos Sainz Jr. and we're down to 19 runners in this Grand Prix. So Sainz out. And that's that for him. As mentioned, Hülkenberg covered the inside there from Hamilton, but Hamilton might get a run on him into the second chicane. Confirmation that Carlos Sainz Jr. is out of the Grand Prix, and we're now down to 19 runners. While these two are battling, it's allowing Bottas to just get away a little bit as he looks to try to get a podium himself. At this stage, Dorado will increase their lead, will increase the gap between themselves and Bud Light Live and the Constructors. Hamilton now down the inside of Hülkenberg. Can he get the move done into the chicane? And he outdid himself there. And contact between Hamilton and Hülkenberg. The pair of them go off the track. And well, Hamilton is spun. Hülkenberg gets going again. And as Hamilton beats the car in any way, shape or form, he's having to wait for the rest of the cars. It will be investigated, of course, this incident. But, well, as Hamilton actually beats the Etihad in the gravel. And, well, could this be race over for Lewis Hamilton? It will do nicely for Alonso in some regard, as he's still outside the points. As Hamilton's still having to wait for everybody to go around him. And there you go, he's able to get it going again, but he's lost a lot of time, and a podium has surely gone down the toilet for Hamilton, and he's lucky there to not rip a wheel. He rejoins down in 13th, be 14th now, because through goes Magnussen into that place. And Alonso now finds himself in front of, what was I going to say? Finds himself in front of Hamilton, but still outside the points at this stage of the Grand Prix as they make their way now then round towards the Ascari chicane. As Alonso tries everything he can to get out of Ocon in front as he tries to grab 11th place from the Frenchman now then as they make their way up towards the final corner at Parabolica. And up towards the final turn then we go. And Alonso gaining the time a little bit onto his former foe Esteban Ocon. And so that's that really as far as they are concerned. Here's Ricciardo still leading the way at this stage. And heading down towards the final corner on the track now then as Ricciardo continues to lead the way out in front. Quite a decent gap in front of Sebastian Vettel at this stage. Ricciardo obviously doing the one stop in this Grand Prix. Vettel just did two. And Vettel gaining a little bit, but of course he does still have the investigation looming over him as the sparks continue to fly out the back of his EMR now then. As Bottas now looking quite lonely in third place. Grosjean starting to close up onto Hülkenberg now then. So Grosjean looking to try and snap at Hülkenberg's slipstream if he can. As he comes out of the Ascari chicane heading up towards Parabolica. As there is Pérez. And of course he's under investigation for passing under yellow flags at the first chicane when Dixon and Giovinazzi had their coming together at the first chicane. As now around the right hander we go as they make their way down the straight. And now heading down the straight now then towards the first chicane. What's the gap between Hülkenberg and Grosjean this time by, as we now have 22 laps remaining in this Grand Prix as they go around the first chicane. And coming off the turn, as it's 2 seconds the gap between Grosjean and Hülkenberg on that lap, as they now make their way round the right-hander. Grosjean doing all he can to get out of Hülkenberg in front of him and try and grab fourth from the German. Through the second chicane they go, using the curb on the outside before approaching the two Lesmos. Through Lesmo 1 and then into Lesmo 2 we will go, and into Lesmo 2, and we'll have a look and see if Grosjean's getting a little bit more on this lap compared to Hülkenberg in front, as they now make their way up towards Ascari now. Then on the track, through the left, right and left-hander we will go, as we're 5 minutes away now then from the 6 o'clock mark. We're just over 2 hours away from the AOR race at Singapore, and as they approach their 6th to last races, Hamilton's into the pits. Why is Hamilton in? Hamilton's back in the pits. He's lost his front wing somewhere. Hamilton has lost his front wing somewhere on the track, and well, there's nobody really trundling around without a rear wing, so I don't know if he's gone off somewhere. So Hamilton must have gone off, because nobody else has come back in to repair a rear wing, unless somebody is behind him on the track without some damage. And that was that really, as far as they're concerned, as Hamilton's being said. There's still 19 runners, but where's the 19th guy? I wonder if he's actually a lap down, now that I think of it. I can't find who's in 19th place in this race, and yeah, I can't find. Oh, there he is. It's Jones. Do apologise. So yeah, it looks like Hamilton has made a mistake somewhere on the track, as Hamilton now then is a lap down from the rest of the pack. So a disastrous race. It's kind of like Germany a season ago for Etihad, but luckily for them, they've already won the constructors anyway, so it's not like they were under threat from anybody. It's just now Alonso finds himself a lap ahead of Hamilton, but Alonso would probably have found it a little bit more nicer if he was actually in the point, so he could gain a little bit in the Drivers' Championship between himself and Lewis Hamilton. But so far that's not the case, as we didn't. As a result of Hamilton losing his front wing, we didn't check the gap between Hülkenberg and Grosjean at that point. So, as they will now go up towards the Ascari chicane, and let's see now then, as they make their way around the left, right and left-hander on the track, and down towards the Parabolica we will now go, as Grosjean will try and find a way through on Hülkenberg if he can for 4th place, and up towards the 2nd chicane we will go on the track. Ricciardo still leading the way. Vettel still a little bit behind him at this stage. And what is the gap now then between Hülkenberg and Grosjean? Last time we checked, it was 2 seconds between the pair of them, as we now have 20 laps remaining in this Italian Grand Prix. We're on lap 34 of 53 in this Grand Prix now, as they make their way into the first chicane, and the gap now being 2.5 seconds. So Hülkenberg has up the gap by half a tenth. Sorry, half a second that time around. Why did I say half a tenth? That's a very small chunk. He would have increased it by. Just give me a moment. Sorry about that, as they come out of the second Lesmo now then on the track, heading down the straight now. Then we go on the track, as they'll soon approach the Ascari chicane, and they will soon approach the next section of corners on the track, and Grosjean heading down the straight, and losing a little bit more time it seems to Nico Hülkenberg. Pérez closing him in, but let's not forget he's under investigation. Verstappen giving Räikkönen a little bit of a cause for concern in front, as he looks to try and pounce upon him for what will be the final points place, looking to see if he can get some points in front of the team's home race here at Monza. Verne finding himself in a martini sandwich, so probably get Dreas. Out goes Hülkenberg! Nico Hülkenberg is out of the race. What has happened to the German? It's a transmission problem that takes care of Hülkenberg. It lifts Grosjean now then up to 4th as a result, and out of the race goes Nico Hülkenberg, and we're now down to 18 runners. As a result, he pulls off just before pit lane. He just did not make it, just didn't have enough grunt to get there, and out of the race goes Hülkenberg, and we're down to 18 runners as a result. It does lift Alonso now then up to 11th place as he tries to chase down Ocon in front of him at the moment. As meantime, Ricciardo just negotiating traffic. It could help out Vettel a little bit, but Vettel will also have to negotiate this piece of traffic himself as they make their way out of Parabolica now, then heading down the pit straight. And Ricciardo now then will head down towards the first 2 turns on the track. And let's see what Ricciardo can... Let's see what the gap is like between him and Vettel anyways, and make their way around the first chicane. And it's 4.7 seconds. As out goes Massa. He pulls off right next to Hülkenberg. And he has an electrical problem. So electrical problems put pay to Felipe Massa's race. He's going to be out and we're down to 17 runners in this Grand Prix. And that's race over for the Brazilian veteran. His car's still crawling, but it will come to a halt a little bit. And the marshals will have to tow his car. I think he's probably just getting close to a fire marshal just in case something implodes in the car. As now... There's the yellow flags to designate that there is a stationary car on the outside as Massa is out and we're down to 17 runners in this Grand Prix. So that's that for him really now then in the Grand Prix. So now it does lift Verstappen into the points. So Verstappen now then in a points paying position. Meantime Hamilton trying to unlap himself at the expense of Fernando Alonso, his own teammate, as they now make their way into the first chicane on the track, around the right and left hand. There we go, as they come off the turn before approaching the right-hander. And meantime, Verstappen still trying to reel in Räikkönen, perhaps to try and see if he can get some more points in this Grand Prix, and trying to see if he can rain down the Iceman, Kimi Räikkönen. So meantime now then, Ricciardo's still coming up to this bit of traffic, which he's hoping that would hold up Vettel a little bit. But either way, Vettel does have an investigation looming over him, so it could be a chance that Vettel could even lose the victory if he does end up taking the lead. As now they go through turn 4 on the track then. As they come off the turn now then before approaching the second chicane. And Vettel now then will approach the left and right-hander as he uses all the curb on the outside before approaching the 2 Lesmos now then. And using all the curb on the outside there then as Ricciardo tries to lap Leclerc if he can. As meantime Perez trying to get hold of Grosjean for 4th. And there's no way through as Verstappen looks like he's starting to lose a little bit of time again to Kimi Räikkönen. Things might have started to settle down just a little bit in this race as they make their way out of the first chicane. And now Verstappen will go around the right-hander. And Verstappen will soon now approach the second chicane on the track now then, around the left and right-hander he will go. As they will soon approach the 2 Lesmos. Hamilton's still trying to unlap himself from Alonso, probably just keeping up with him just to I don't know, maybe try and get a fastest lap in if he can. Not like that's worth any points, but race ruin then for Lewis Hamilton as contact with Hülkenberg and then losing his front wing, I think from a mistake, because nobody else had any damage on the track. So that's that really, as Hamilton is actually going to try and unlap himself at the expense of his rival Fernando Alonso. But let's see if Alonso will be willing to let him go now then as they go in towards Ascari. And into Ascari we go. And yeah, he is going to let him go. So Hamilton gains that place, and it looks like maybe Hamilton will try and get hold of Ocon. But having saying that, of course, it looks like Alonso's trying to lap him again. So probably doesn't want him to lap him, but who knows really what's going on over at Etihad at this stage. The race is probably wrecked anyway as a result of what happened to them at the start of the race. As now Ricciardo goes around the Ascari chicane as he's now got a car between himself and Vettel. Vettel still quite a bit behind this piece of traffic in order for him to try and lap as he come out of Ascari now then before approaching the Parabolica. And up towards the final turn we will go on the track. Ricciardo still leading as he'll soon start lap 39 of 53. So we will have 15 laps remaining once he crosses the line for Danny Rick. As Vettel comes out of the turn, and he's probably losing a bit of time now that I think of it to Daniel Ricciardo, because it looks a little bit longer than what he did before. As Verstappen continues to lose time to Räikkönen. Räikkönen's starting to up the pace a little bit. And but he's a little bit too far back to try and chase down Stoffel Vandoorne in this race now then. So that's that really as far as they're concerned. Hartley trying to see if he can gain onto Wehrlein if he can. Wehrlein in 12th. I think on seen by the cameras he managed to get him earlier on. So he gets up to 12th. Wehrlein trying to get hold of Alonso if he can. Alonso has now been unlapped by Hamilton. Maybe Hamilton might try, and I don't know, but I don't know if he will actually, because they're in the championship roles, but he might try and help Alonso out, trying to get up to 10th place, but there's not really a point now, really, to be honest. They've won the Constructors, they've done what they've needed to do, so a pair of them can now just go flat out and try and win this championship this season, because nobody is really near them at the moment at this stage. And that is Massa's car in the background. I think that is. Yes, it is. So it just fooled my eyes a little bit there. And meantime, Ricciardo's still leading the way at this stage. Still with quite a comfortable gap in front of Sebastian Vettel. As now Ricciardo will approach the Parabolica. As he rounds the final turn and onto the pit straight he will go. And he will soon approach the first chicane on the track, which isn't going to work out. So now we look at Hamilton again as he rounds the second chicane. And out of that chicane we go before approaching the two Lesmos on the track. Round Lesmo 1 and then into Lesmo 2 we will soon go. Out of the turn now then, as they'll soon go up towards the Escalvi chicane. Perez looking like he might soon be coming under threat from Vandoorne, because it looks like Vandoorne's starting to gain a little bit on the Mexican now. Then he's gained a little bit, I think, from the last time we saw Vandoorne on the track. As he now rounds the final turn, Vandoorne looking to try and get some points for AMP if he can, as they now head down the pit straight towards the first chicane. And let's see the gap between Perez and Vandoorne this time by. And we've already passed the 6 o'clock mark. We're 7 minutes past that 6 o'clock mark anyway. As now into the first chicane, it's 1.5 seconds the gap between Vandoorne and Perez this time by, as Vandoorne comes out of the first chicane now then before approaching the flat out right-hander on the track. And coming off the turn now then before they can approach the second chicane. And Vandoorne trying everything he can to get Perez to get him at this stage as they come out of the chicane up towards the two Lesmos we will go. Through Lesmo 1 and then into Lesmo 2. And it looks like he might be better than him around the corners. Clearly the straight line speed has not really been Audi's best bet this season. I don't know if it has improved since now, but Vandoorne trying to see if he can get up towards Perez as best as possible as he tries to grab 5th from the Mexican by the end of the race as he makes his way around the Scari chicane, heading down the straight towards the Parabolica. And there's Grosjean now. Then he's obviously dropping back a bit now then towards Perez and Vandoorne. Bottas so far looking good to get a podium for the first time in a while. As Ricciardo has now got another car between himself and Vettel. So Vettel losing more time to Daniel Ricciardo as a result. This traffic definitely favouring Daniel Ricciardo as a result. As Vettel goes around the first Lesmo and then into the second Lesmo we will go on the track as he comes off the turn. As meantime now then, what's the gap between Vandoorne and Perez this time by? It was 1.5 seconds last time around and it's still 1.5 seconds, so both of them lapping around about the same pace as each other. And probably Perez is put too focused on Grosjean to front to even notice that that Vandoorne is not that far behind him either, as they now round the second chicane. We now have Ricciardo will soon be starting lap 42 of 53, so we'll have 12 laps to go once he crosses the line in this Italian Grand Prix. A very chaotic Italian Grand Prix, it must be said. And again, for the second week in a row, Etihad not going to claim victory as a result. It looks like at the rate it's going, it looks like it's going to the GRM of Ricciardo again. Ricciardo looking like so far he's making the one-stop strategy work out to perfection, as the traffic is definitely not out Vettel. He finally puts a lap on Leclerc quite awkwardly into that first chicane, so a little bit more time. I wouldn't be surprised if he's lost a little bit there into that first chicane. But there we are, as they make their way around the right-hander on the track. as they'll soon approach the second chicane. I'm sorry if we just had a little bit of a drop of frame there. As now in towards the Lesmo 1 and then up towards Lesmo 2 we go. And Ricciardo still trying to stretch that lead out a little bit between himself and Sebastian Vettel. And now into the chicane we go, as it looks like Grosjean's opened the taps up a little bit between himself and Perez. It's still 1.5 seconds between Van Dorn and Fi. It looks like again I'm going to have to do a little bit more of an edit on this occasion. And so let's try again then, shall we? So you didn't really miss too much, you disconnected just at the first Lesmo, I think. So here we go then. So Van Dorn again trying to chase down Perez for 5th place now then, as they make their way up towards the Ascari chicane. And now through the left, right and left-hander we go, as they go down the straight towards the Parabolica. And so up towards Parabolica we will go, as Van Dorn being able to find a little bit of time between himself and Perez at this stage. Sorry about that, as they come out of the chicane and they come off the turn now then, and Van Dorn still leading the way ahead of Perez. We're back online now, guys, so it was only a brief little flicker. So yeah, we are back online now, just to double check as they make their way around the chicane. Yeah, we're back online. So here we go then, up towards the 2 Lesmos we go on the track, and through the first Lesmo and then into the second Lesmo we will go on the track. And now they go down the straight towards the Ascari chicane. And now they go up towards Ascari, and they're having a few drops of frames there. And now up towards Ascari we go. Van Dorn still trying to chase down the gap in front between himself and Sergio Pérez for 5th place, as they will now approach the Parabolica. And as a result of that, I didn't really check to see what the gap was like last time, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was still the same, 1.5 seconds between the pair of them as they come out of the Parabolica now then, heading down the pit straight. And let's see the gap then between Perez and Van Dorn at this stage, as we have 10 laps remaining for Daniel Ricciardo, as he's now on lap 44 of 53. The gap between Perez and Van Dorn now then is now, let's have a look, 1.3 seconds. So in fact he's actually gained 2/10 on Perez that time around. Van Dorn finally finding some pace in the car, as he's cut 2/10 on the gap between himself and Perez on that lap. As meantime, let's see what's going on with Ricciardo and that. Well, there's Vettel. He's not actually now that far behind. He's now got rid of that traffic, and he's only got him and Ricciardo to deal with now, as they will soon approach the Parabolica. But let's not forget, of course, even if Vettel does get by, he's still got the investigation looming over him, which could take that potential of a second victory, first legit victory in a while, away from him. So it might be a bad weekend in the office for EMR that could lie with them, as now they will approach the first chicane on the track now then. And the gap between Vettel and Ricciardo, as we have 9 laps left of the Grand Prix, is now 1.9 seconds. So it's just under 2 seconds between them at the moment. And we'll have a look and see what the gap is like between Perez and Van Dorn in a little bit as they come out of the Ascari chicane. Heading down the straight we go before approaching the Parabolica, which is the last corner on the track. And so now towards the final turn we go. Up towards the final turn we go then, and onto the pit straight goes Stoffel Van Dorn. And let's see the gap between him and Perez this time by, as they will make their way into the first chicane. 8 laps remaining in the Grand Prix, of course, and the gap between 5th and 6th is now, let's have a look, as my voice decided to crack, is back up to 1.5 seconds. So Perez has found 2 attempts, and he's got it back up now to 1.5 seconds between each other. So, meantime, as Hartley's off. That's Hartley on the left-hand side there. Brendan Hartley has got a problem in the monster car. So both monsters out of the race. There's a brake problem that's taken care of Brendan Hartley, and he's going to be out of the race. And we're down to 16 runners now. Then in the Grand Prix, Hartley pulls off to the side of the track as he will hoist the car over the barrier, and that will be it then for him. As meantime, so a double retirement looming then has come the way for Monster Grand Prix to end off what has been a very frustrating weekend. Well, a frustrating race for both Massa and Hartley. So no points going to the Belgian team this weekend as they go into the final 4 races after this with the Monster Grand Prix name tag, because they will be rebranded to British Airways Racing next season. As now they will approach the final corner. And around the final turn and onto the pit straight we will go. And now heading down the pit straight before approaching the first chicane on the track. And let's see the gap between Perez and Van Dorn this time by. Let's see if Van Dorn has responded to that, or well, he has a slight bit actually as you look at it, as Van Dorn has gained a 10th on Perez, so it's back. So it's now down to 1.4 seconds. Between each other at this stage of the race. So that's that for them really. Meantime, here are the top 2 as they make their way in towards the final turn. Vettel gaining a bit on Ricciardo, but let's see what the gap is like next time around as they make their way around the final turn and onto the pit straight now then. And the gap between them is now, let's have a look. I'm sorry for the little drop of frames. And the gap being, let's have a look at the gap between them as we've got 7 laps to go in this Italian Grand Prix. The gap between them is now, let's have a look. The gap being 1.8 seconds. So, really, Vettel hasn't really gained too much as I would have anticipated. He's only gaining a 10th from the last time we checked. So, Ricciardo might have responded somewhere. So, Vettel not really gaining onto Ricciardo as much as I would have anticipated at this stage of the race, but let's see if Vettel was able to do it on the next lap as he comes out of the chicane now, then hanging towards the Parabolica, and he makes his way around, sorry, not the Parabolica, the 2 Lesmos on the track, up towards Lesmo 2 we will go as they come off the turn, heading down the straight before approaching the Ascari chicane. And now up towards Ascari we will go, and in towards the left, right and left-hander we will go. I'm sorry for the drop of frames. I am kind of fearing for the worst in a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't go off. It's only losing just a little bit of frames. But I don't know why I'm losing frames all of a sudden today, to be honest with you, because it has been pretty alright, it must be said, recently, but it's only just started to do this again. Anyway, heading down the straight then goes Sebastian Vettel. Let's see the gap between him and Ricciardo this time by as they make their way down towards the first chicane on the track, the right-left chicane. Let's see the gap with 6 laps remaining, and it's still 1.8 seconds. So they're both lapping around about the same pace as each other at this stage, and I'm losing more frames. I do apologise. As now Vettel will round the right-hander on the track, and as he comes now then up towards the second chicane, through the left, right, and coming off the turn before approaching the 2 Lesmos on the track. I will have to reset the internet actually before AOR a little later on, because I'm still streaming that, so I'll have to do a little reboot before we start that at 8 o'clock. Luckily, Ollie's back this weekend to do commentary with me, so in case anything goes bad on my side, at least he can fill my boots. But anyway, up towards Ascari now then we will go. And Vettel still not really gaining much onto Ricciardo, as much as we would have possibly anticipated at the moment in this race. As meantime, Van Dorn still not up within the slipstream yet of Sergio Pérez, as they make their way into the second chicane, as they come off the turn now then before approaching the 2 Lesmos, and through Lesmo 1 and then into Lesmo 2 we will go on the track. And out of the turn we go, using the curb on the outside to head down the straight towards the Ascari chicane. And let's see what Van Dorn can do. And trying everything he can to get all the Perez at this stage of the race now then, as things have quieted down a little bit in the closing stages of this Italian Grand Prix. And as there's Grosjean, Perez, no, is it Perez? Yeah, Perez, who's under investigation, and Van Dorn up towards the Parabolica we will go. As the sparks continue to fly at the back of Van Dorn's car now then, coming off the turn, as he will now head down the pit straight. And let's see the gap then between Perez and Van Dorn this time by. And as we now have 5 laps remaining in the race, I thought previously it was 5 laps to go, but I was wrong. This is 5 laps to go on lap 49 of 53, and again it's still around about the same pace Van Dorn was showing earlier. 1.4 seconds the gap still between Perez and Stoffel Van Dorn. So that's that for them really, as they make their way around the Lesmos now then. And it seems like every time I flick through drivers it just drops frames all of a sudden, so I don't understand why it's being weak in that department. So anyways, we come down the straight. There is Massa's stricken car from a little earlier on in the race. Ricciardo now then starts lap 50 of 53, so we now have 4 laps remaining in the Grand Prix. And the gap now then, let's see, as it still remain the same from last time around. Well, Vettel has actually gained a 10th, but it's only 1.7 the gap. So if Ricciardo can just keep up this pace, he's looking good to get his 2nd victory of the season, which is more than what GRM's had in the past. Usually they just get 1 win a season and then that's them really for the season. But it seems that they're finally going to get more than 1 victory this season, and Ricciardo is going to get his 4th career victory because he's able to keep the pace consistent, possibly because, I don't know really, Vettel may be having to start to preserve, and Ricciardo, well, he's on older tyres, but he's able to make this one work out a little bit. And he's just coming out of the 2nd Lesmo now. Then Vettel really hasn't really got the pace of Ricciardo in these closing stages of the Italian Grand Prix, as they will now approach the Ascari chicane now then, as they'll flip the car round the left, right and left-hander they will go. So Ricciardo now then will approach the Parabolica, as my stomach's starting to rumble a bit. Been on the air for a while now then really today, and I'm not finished there either because of AOR later on at 8. Meantime, we're back with Van Dorn and Perez, who make their way around Lesmo 1 and 2, and now approaching the section of corners we go on the track, as they come off the turn heading down the straight before approaching the Ascari chicane. And up towards Ascari we will go. And approaching Ascari go Perez and Van Dorn. And through the left-hander then go the pair of them as they go down the straight towards the Parabolica. And up towards the final turn then we will go. And let's see if Van Dorn could get up close to the back of Perez and see if he can try and find a little bit more than just 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 all the time. So they go down the straight now. Then let's see the gap between Van Dorn and Perez this time by is now. Let's have a look as a Van Dorn there just did a 1 minute 20.948, as I'm starting to hear bells in my ears. Now into the first turn, it's actually now down to 1.2 seconds. So Van Dorn starting to get his foot down. He's now cut the gap by 0.2 of a second to get it down to 1.2. So maybe Van Dorn could find some pace in these last 3 laps he's got now, then including the lap he's on. For the moment, it looks like pretty soon Ricciardo will be starting his penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, and it looks like he's now started to pull away a bit from Vettel as a result. So here we go then. So Ricciardo now then starts his penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. He starts lap 52 of 53 in this Italian Grand Prix, as he will now approach the first chicane on the track. And Ricciardo has done a fabulous job. I think also Verne is into the points as well, from what I remember, I think. So it could be a double points finish for GRM at this stage. So that could really help them nicely in terms of their battle with Martini for 6th in the Constructors' Championship. So they're in a little bit of a battle with them at the moment, it seems. As now Ricciardo will approach the second chicane round the left and right-hander he goes, as he uses all the curb on the outside before approaching the 2 Lesmos. And now around the right-hander we go, as he comes off the turn using the curb on the outside, and then up towards the second Lesmo, as he's doing a grand job and in front of the moment. Meantime, what's going on between Van Dorn and Perez, as Van Dorn cut a little bit more, as Perez managed to respond on this penultimate lap as they will approach the first chicane, and in fact Van Dorn's cut it a little bit more. It's now down to 1.1 seconds, so Van Dorn, if he can just push it a little bit more, could find himself maybe with an opportunity for an overtake on the last lap. But we will have to wait and see on that. As meantime, Alonso down the inside of Ocon. He's got the place for Ocon, trying to get back down the inside, but just doesn't have the momentum. And Alonso up into 10th place, getting the move done on Esteban Ocon as a result. Meantime, here's Daniel Ricciardo coming around the final turn, and Daniel Ricciardo is about to start his final lap here at Monza. What a race Ricciardo has had, and very lucky again, it must be said, for the Honey Badger. He started in 3rd place and initially got caught, got a little bit caught up in the traffic jam, was able to get going again, but lost a couple of places to Vettel, Hülkenberg and Bottas. But he was on the one stop. It was going to be a little bit of a gamble, but he was able to make it pay off, and despite a little bit of threat from Vettel behind, he's been able to withstand the pressure, even despite the fact that Vettel's got an investigation looming over him. And if he can just keep this up, he's looking good to make it 2 out of 2 victories in Italy for Daniel Ricciardo. What a run of form the Aussie has been showing these past couple of races. He's really starting to show some form again in that GRM, as he's looking to give the team a good send-off before he goes to Etihad Racing next season. And let's see then what the gap is like between Perez and Van Dorn as they make their way into the first chicane now. Then let's see, as they will approach turns 1 and 2 on the track, and the gap is 0.8 seconds, so it's now under a second. So Van Dorn could have an opportunity on the last lap, but he'll need to hurry up. Only a few yards are left in this race, and Verne is actually outside the point, so it's not going to be a double points finish for GRM. But anyway, either way, here is Daniel Ricciardo now then, as he comes up towards Parabolico, and after another set of luck, he really gets lucky in these sorts of races. He comes down the pit straight, and it's going to be back-to-back victories in Italy, because coming across the line, it is going to be Daniel Ricciardo who wins the Italian Grand Prix. Congratulations to him and the George Rowe Motorsport team. It's 2 out of 2 for the Aussie. And wow, what a run of form the Aussie is showing. Daniel Ricciardo makes it 2 out of 2 victories in Italy. Vettel for now in 2nd with that result because of the investigation for causing the start incident at the beginning. Bottas is going to get onto a podium, a 2nd consecutive podium finish for Eldorado. That will help him out in their battle with EMR and Bud Light Lime in the Constructors' Championship. And they'll be hoping that Perez possibly doesn't get punished too much for passing on the yellow flags as well. It's 3rd place for Bottas. 4th is going to be Romain Grosjean in the Bud Light Line, getting some more points for Bud Light Line Motorsport in the Constructors' Championship. So not losing too many points to Eldorado as a result. So it's going to be 4th place for Romain Grosjean. It's going to be 5th for now for Perez because of the investigation. Van Dorn wasn't able to get him in the end, but could lift up to 5th in a little bit. For now, though, he finishes in 6th. It's going to be 7th for Kimi Räikkönen. A great comeback from him after his qualifying ban. He's going to get 2 championship points to cross the line in 7th. And it's going to be Verstappen who's going to round out the points in 8th position. Hamilton 15th on the road. Alonso not scoring points, so the gap remaining the same between the pair of them. 13 points. 9th for Verne. 10th for Alonso. 11th for Ocon. And it's 12th for Verline. 13th for Kevin Magnussen in the end there then. So P13 for the Dane. And there you have it then. In the end, Daniel Ricciardo makes it 2 wins in a row for the Aussie. And, well, that really helps them out in their battle with Martini for 6th in the Constructors' Championship. So, there you have it then, guys. After all of that, here's the results of quite chaotic Italian Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo won the race with Sebastian Vettel in 2nd. 3rd place went to Valtteri Bottas. Of course, Vettel for now is in 2nd. Grosjean 4th. Perez for now in 5th. Van Dorn 6th. Räikkönen 7th. Verstappen in 8th. Verne 9th. Alonso 10th. Could still get points, depending on how severe the punishment Vettel and Perez get, if they do get one, of course, either of them. Ocon 11th, Verline 12th, Magnussen 13th, Leclerc in 14th position. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, Hamilton 15th, Jones in 16th, and he was the final finisher in the end. The 6 retirements were Brennan Hartley, Felipe Massa, Nico Hülkenberg, Carlos Sainz Jr., Scott Dixon, and Antonio Giovinazzi. They were the retirements of the Grand Prix. So let's see you set the fastest lap of the race then. Who's going away with the bonus point? And let's have a look. And it was Fernando Alonso. No, not with a bonus point. What am I saying? You don't get bonus points for this. It was Fernando Alonso with a 1 minute 18.551. He was 300 quicker than Felipe Massa, who obviously retired from the race. So Alonso does get something in return and could get a little bit more depending on if Vettel and Perez get severe penalties. Which would lift him up to 8th as a result. But there you have it then, guys. That has been it from the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. I hope you enjoyed it. It has been quite an exciting Italian Grand Prix, it must be said. And a great victory for Daniel Ricciardo yet again then. And he's really enjoying these last 2 races, isn't he? But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it. That was the last European race of the season. The last 4 races not taking part in Europe. And that has been it then for this live stream then, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. We will see you then, guys, next weekend at the first of 3 new tracks for the last 3 races. The last 4 races have 3 new tracks in them. The next race will take place at the Korean Grand Prix at Yeongnam at the Korea International Circuit. And it's going to be very interesting to see how the drivers negotiate around the Yeongnam circuit. And it's been a while since you guys probably seen Yeongnam. Last time it was on a Formula 1 calendar was back in 2013. Despite many attempts to try and get back, of course. But anyway, guys, that has been it then. I hope you enjoy it. The podium for the top class is coming your way just after this. But until then, I'm JWF1. Thank you very much for watching. And I will see you guys next weekend at the Korean Grand Prix in Yeongnam. Until then, take care and enjoy the podium.